Okay, so I'm going to try and edit this photo and bring out the Milky Way as I did with my other photos. As you see, everything's as it was at the camera on here. The only thing that isn't, that I have put on already, is the lens correction, which you can change. See that? If you do that and then change it, see how that changes? So click that back on. Okay, now you can put a bit of vinaigrette in it if you want. Vignetting, sorry, vinaigrette. Vignetting, I believe it's called, which then would darken the outside, but I like to do that afterwards, once we're done with the edit. So double click to bring it back. Okay, so we can here change the white balance. Now the best way to change the white balance is to bring up your saturation and vibrance and saturation up to 100%. It looks a bit funky. And then get an eyedropper from here and click on a dark bit of the picture, probably in the corner up there. See how that's changed. Then bring these, double click on these to bring them back, and that will give you a different sort of look. But you can change that as well with the temperature and the tint if you want it a different sort of tone. So I quite like it cold looking sky, not too blue, not too, so just about there I'd say is quite nice. Okay, now we're going to bring out some of the highlights in this area here and bring out the Milky Way. So what I'll do first is you can change the exposure if you want to bring it up or down. I quite like it pretty much, yeah, it's probably about there, -18. Then fiddle with these, the highlights and shadows, the whites and the blacks, just to bring a bit of clarity and contrast into the picture. But you do these to your liking as well. So I'm going to bring the whites and the highlights up a little bit. And it's starting to pop. You can see the Milky Way is popping a little bit there. The blacks sort of tend to do more. But then you'll see in a moment when I use dehaze and clarity, if I bring the clarity up a bit, it gives a bit more texture into the picture. Then if you bring dehaze up, it starts to darken. Just like that, okay? But then you see there's lots of noise in the picture now with that. So what I tend to do is bring the texture down a bit, just to give it a smooth look on the Milky Way. Then you can fiddle again with the blacks and the shadows, just to bring them up a little bit. It's all a matter, for me it's just a matter of fiddling with it all. Okay, I quite like that. But we can get rid of all this noise in the picture as well. So if we then go down to the details tab, you see here there's quite a lot of noise in the picture. So bring the luminance up, you see how that's changed and got a lot smoother to what it was a minute ago. It looks a bit softer in the picture, or photo should I say. Okay, and again it's just a case of messing with these to how you feel you want it. I think that's quite nice, quite a smooth look to it. Yeah, a bit blurry, so we can bring the texture up a little bit again, just to bring out some of those stars if we want them, and maybe just give it a little bit more contrast by upping the dehaze a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is put a radial filter on. Now with the radial filters, you'll make sure that is inverted, because if you don't, when you put it on, it will do whatever outside. If you look here, that's what's affected. Okay, put the feather up to 100% and take this back off again. So make sure it's inverted, because then it will show you. I'll show you in a moment. And go back here. It's affecting what's on the inside of the circle or the radial. Then just put this over your Milky Way. Like so. And then we can mess around with local adjustments on that up here. So again, it's a matter of preference, how much you want. So I'm going to bring dehaze up a little bit. See how it's affecting the dark areas of the Milky Way with the dehaze, which is quite nice around here. The shadows and blacks. You go too much up with the shadows, see how that does that? Makes it too soft. So you want those blacks still in the Milky Way. Bring the highlights and whites up a bit. And then what I like to do is increase the saturation. So it gives it a bit more colour within that area itself around here. And the colour you can do to whatever you want, really. I mean, if you want, I can bring a nice sort of goldy tone to it with the temperature, or you can bring it down to a cold look. Don't go too mad. Let's give it a bit of a ready sort of tone, ready gold tone. That's quite nice like that. But then again, I'm going to change the clarity and bring out those blacks so it gets a good mix. And again, just change this to how you want it. See if I move it, how it changes. Like that. There we go. Now if you want, you can duplicate this. So if I right click, duplicate, see how what that's done to that now? Made it a hell of a lot brighter. So again, you can move this around if you want, or just get rid of it, which I am going to get rid of it. Delete that. So it's just quite a nice subtle tone here. See what's affected. There you go. And again, I'm not too sure if I like the colour, so again, it's a matter of preference. Change the colour to how you want. And we'll do a bit more editing in Photoshop afterwards as well. So I'm changing that and I haven't even highlighted it, sorry. So no, not around, there's too much of it already around the edge, so I quite like that. Okay, let's go with that. Now if we press the F key, you can see what it's like full screen. You see there's lots of stars in it, which we will get rid of in a moment. So press the F key again, go back. And what we'll do now, I've got Photoshop open, so I'm going to right click on the thumbnail down here. Right click, I'm going to edit in Photoshop. And that will now open up in Photoshop. Hopefully, there we go. Now we're in Photoshop, okay. You can level the horizon obviously if you want to. So what I'm going to do is make a duplicate, so right click over here and make a duplicate layer. And then we're going to do some star removal. So if we go up to select, no sorry, go to channels over here, click RGB and bring it down to those little dots down here, which will then cause marching ants. If you can see them on the screen there, let's zoom in. They call them marching ants, and you see they're around these star areas. Okay, fit the screen again. Okay, now go up to select up here, modify, go to expand, and expand it by 1 pixel. That again is a preference, but 1 pixel should be okay. And see how a lot more of them come into force now. Then if you go to select again, modify it again, this time go to feather. And they say go to feather, but go half of what your expense was. So I'm going 0.5. And you can turn those off as well by press Alt, Control H will turn the marching ants off. Control H brings back on again. Okay, now if we go to back to layer, and then go to filter, other, minimum, and I'm going to keep that as 0.6, but you can change that to whatever you want, but I'd say between 0.2, see how they're still there in this image here, so I'm going to go up to about 0.6 and see how they've moved. Now 0.5 looks quite good, so let's click on that. Okay, it's working, and you can see now how some of the stars have gone within the image. Now if I click over here on this eye, that's before and that's after. Before and after. If I want to, I can go to filter again, other, minimize. We can bring this up to 0.6. Now I think that's done too much, so Control Z will undo. So Control Z, undo again. And that undoes all your actions. Okay, so that's back to how we were with all the stars in it. Okay. Control H. Okay, see they're all there still. So Control H again, just get rid of those. I'm going to go filter again. I'm only going to do this once this time. Go to filter, other, minimum. And I went too far last time I think. So I'm going to go 0.6, 0.4, I'm going to go 0.5. Make sure this is on roundness as well, rather than square. So go to roundness, 0.5 I'm going to keep at. That's working now. You see how it's got rid of some, so if I go and click over here, that was before, that's after, that's before, that's after. I think if you have too many stars, it detracts away from the Milky Way. Okay, then you can put adjustment layers on as well, but that's again a matter of preference. So you can create a new adjustment layer down here, and you can put whatever you want on. So let's say we want to put a photo filter on. We can put a warming filter, and you can put how much you want on it. See how that warms the picture up, and you can just change the density of it, or if you want you can cool it down a bit, which gives it a blue tone. See, but then it's affecting the stars, and the stars are gone all blue. So I'm just going to put a warming filter on. There we go. So it's got quite a nice orange glow around this sort of area. If I hide that, you can see it's only subtle, but it is there. And then you've got these two like starlinks, quite like them in the picture. But there's quite a few of them actually. There's one up there, so I'll zoom in. One there, and over here. There's one over there as well, which I think may have been a meteor because it looks like it's a meteor. If you compare it to that there, let's switch the screen again. Now you can bring these out a little bit more if you want to. Now, because I've only got on a single image, I'm going to have to do it straight over the image. So what I'm going to do is put the brush tool and I might just go over it a little bit as it's on white. Just see what happens. So if I, just an example, if I click there and then shift click there, it draws a line, which is far too big, as you can see. So I'm not going to do that on this image, I don't think. That's just an example of what you can do, but let's zoom in again. There we go. Go to the brush to over here. You can see why that come up quite thick. So let's bring this right down in size. You can do this on a layer if you had, if you wanted to bring other ones out. So I'm just going to click there, then shift click here. No, I don't like it. I'm gonna. No, that's too much. Just like a line. So I'm going to leave that. Actually, so I'm going to undo. Control Z to undo and get rid of that. I'm just going to leave as it is. Okay, bear with me. Remember, I'm new to this recording stuff as well. So if you're laughing at me about my silly mistakes, that's fine. Now, if you want to change some of this area as well, you can dodge and burn. So if you want to dodge, which darkens the area, so you get a brush size of what suits you with the bracket keys again. And I'm going to dodge some of this. And hopefully it will start to go darker. No, lighter. Sorry, I'm dodging it, so it's going lighter. See what that's done there? So I'm going to undo that. That's far too much. I meant to burn, sorry, the burn tool. And I'm going to do the shadows. There we go, it's too much. Right, we're on the burn tool. But that's far too much, I think. Let's change this. Okay, so let's bring the exposure down. Now actually, what I'll do, I won't go on the shadows, we'll go on the midtones up here and see if how that affects it. There we go, that's better. Okay, bringing in the darkness, but it's not too much. It was too much on the shadows. And if you want to decrease that, Just go back to the dodge tool and do it like that. That's bringing it too much. I don't like that, it's too white in there. There we go, let's bring that back. And then bring these back in again, see? That's better. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some of this with the dodge tool on the mid-tones, just to bring a little bit more light into these sort of areas. And again, just change it, highlights, mid-tones. There we go. Let's give it quite a nice sort of flare to it. And I just realised what I've done. What I should have done with these star trails was kept it on the dodge tool, and I can lighten them that way. Change my brush size. Let's zoom in. And let's just see if we can just bring these out a little bit more. Just brushing over it. I'm on the highlights, let's get to the mid-tones. There we go. See how that's just bringing it out? I might have to brush a little bit too big. I quite like that. And then this one over here. Again, the same thing. Just brush over it just to bring it out, but I'm going to undo that, and if I click once there and then shift down here, it should, there we go. And you can do that as many times as you want to bring it out, so click down the bottom, shift, there we go. And again, I think I saw one over here, one up here, so let's try this. I'm going to reduce the brush size so it's quite faint. So click and shift. See how that's out a little bit, click and shift. Okay, let's fit to screen. There we go, I quite like that. That's brought them out a little bit more. Okay, so I believe that is about that done. Like I say, you can straighten this as well, but what I might do is do that in Lightroom if I'm going to do it at all. So now I'm going to save that image and it will save it back into Lightroom. At first I want to flatten all this, so if you right click on these, flatten image, bring it into one image. And what I'll do, I'll show you the before and after as well in a moment. A file and save. My save preference is saving as a TIFF. You can see the saving down here. Okay, now if I go back into Lightroom, there it is there. Full screen. And if I go back to the original, that was the one, this is the one before star removal was done in Lightroom. And if I go there, and that's now, so it's softened it, it's got rid of some of the stars, it's brought out the highlights in the star links here. Go back, before and after. Okay, my computer's just slowed up a little bit. which isn't ideal. Okay. Right. So there we go. That's the finished image. As you can see, it's a TIFF file. It was shot at 60 seconds, f.4 ISO 800, and it was on a 24mm lens. Now, to show you the difference between the before and after, if I right click on this and create a virtual copy, then I'm going to reset the virtual copy to its original settings. Okay. Reset this one. No, that's a TIFF file. What's going on? TIFF. Sorry, this one is the one I meant to reset. The DNG, not the TIFF. Right, reset this. There we go. That's the one straight out of the camera. So straight out of the camera, second edit in Lightroom, and the process one from Photoshop. Now what I'm going to do now is, because there's quite a bit of light pollution in here, I'm going to darken it. So I'm going to put a graduated filter in, and just like this, it's going to bring the exposure down slightly, and bring the haze up a little bit, not too much. Sorry, that turned around. Didn't mean it to do that. Get rid of that, because that's totally messed up. I pressed on it twice, 3 times, and it's done. Delete that. Right, okay, this is the one I wanted. For some reason it copied it. Let's bring that back a little bit. I've done it again. Delete that. Okay. And there we go. Done. So that is a completed TIFF file. I'm not too sure if I like that now, in this area. Now I'll put it in. So I'm going to go back to the graduated filter. I'm going to take that and delete it. I think I prefer it like that, because it got rid of some of these stars in here where it was too dark. So I quite like that now. There we go, job done. Hope you enjoyed, and sorry if it wasn't as informative as it should be. But as I said, I'm just learning this as well. But I hope it helps. Take care, bye.